Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is a Small Lime Books. Today I have for you a little April reading list. So all the books that I want to read in April. I have mentioned before that I am a mood reader. However, I think the whole mood reading thing leads to me borrowing more from the library and also to not reading the books I already have and not finishing some of my reading goals. So with that said, I have a stack here of 6 books that I want to prioritize reading in April. I want to hopefully actually get these 6 books read. I'll have other books I'm going to read in April, but these are the 6 that I'm going to make a priority. Then I want to shout out Lauren from Instagram who made these shirts. These like sweatshirts, hoodies, t-shirts. On the front says borrow more books, and let me show you the back. The back says support your local library, and you know that I love to support my local library, the Brooklyn Public Library. So with this stack, I do have some of my goals that I'm actively trying to do. So one of my goals is to read at least 1 Caribbean book a month, at least 1 nonfiction book a month, at least 1 book that's been on my shelf that I haven't read for many years. So those are 3 of my reading goals I'm trying to accomplish in this year. So I'm trying to be more intentional about the books that I'm reading. The first book is a brand new book I bought yesterday. It is Communion by Bell Hooks, The Female Search for Love. After I read all about love, I fell in love, lots of love, with Bell Hooks' writing and her concepts, and I don't really agree with every single thing she says, and the writing can be a little heterosexually gendered, but I think it has a lot of really interesting concepts about what love means, especially in regards to children. So hopefully this book has the same tone. It says that Communion challenges every female to courageously claim the search for love as the heroic journey we must all choose to be truly free. So basically she explores the ways ideas about women and love were changed by the feminist movement, by women's full participation in the workforce, and by the culture of self-help. So I really think this is going to be an interesting read for me. I kind of skimmed it a little bit, and so many of the things that stuck out to me were really interesting. I love books that talk about relationships and gender and love and feminism, so I'm really hoping to enjoy this one. This is actually my second nonfiction pick for the month, is Women, Race and Class by Angela Davis. I actually started it, as you can see in the bookmark, but it's one of those texts that you really need to sit down and read and underline and highlight and tab, which I've been doing. I have so many underlines in this already. I'm 42 pages in, so hopefully in April I will prioritize this and finish it. It talks a lot about society and womanhood and the intersections between womanhood, race and class. Obviously that's the name of the book, but it really gives a lot of context to the whiteness that has permeated the mainstream or modern feminism, and I feel like it shows us how feminist movements began. She starts on the plantation during slavery. I think just from the first chapter about womanhood and slavery and Black womanhood specifically. So I'm very excited to read this one, or to finish reading this one. The next book is The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead, which is a story about a Black boy growing up in 1960s Tallahassee, and he's unfairly sentenced to a juvenile reformatory called the Nickel Academy. He finds himself trapped in a chamber of horrors. So I heard it's very horrific. I haven't heard much else about it, but it's a pretty popular book. And Colson Whitehead is known for really great literary fiction. So I'm excited for this one. It's actually my fiance's book. He got it for Christmas from his mom. I'm going to read it this April because I'm really intrigued by the narrative of this book. This book is a book that has been sitting on my shelf since 2013. Yes, 2013, and I have not read it yet. So it's Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and I've never read Pride and Prejudice. I've watched the movie, I think I watched 2 of the films, but I haven't read the book. And I got this for Christmas from my sister or my cousin, I believe, back in 2013. They got me this Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition. I'm trying to read more classics, so I'm trying to read a classic a month. So this is my classic pick for the month of April. It's going to be Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and then I will reward myself by watching the newest film. The next book is Bitter by Akwaeke Emezi. They are one of my favorite, if not my favorite author. I have all their books except for Freshwater. Hopefully I will get it soon. I've read all their books so far, and this is the one that's out that I haven't read. It's a signed copy. I got it 2 weeks ago, and this is a prequel to Pet. It says, after a childhood in foster care, Bitter is thrilled to have been chosen to attend Eucalyptus, a special school where she can focus on her painting surrounded by other creative teens. But outside this haven, the streets are filled with protests against the deep injustices that grip the city of Lucille. Bitter's instinct is to stay within the walls of Eucalyptus, but her friends aren't willing to settle for a world that's so far from what they deserve. Pulled between old friendships, her artistic passion, and a new romance, Bitter isn't sure where she belongs, in the studio or the street. It is a young adult or a middle grade book, I believe. I think it's a young adult book. Very excited to read a book for a younger audience by this author again. The last book I want to read is When We Were Birds by Ayanna Lloyd Banwo. I already talked about this in my video about spring reads, but just a recap, it's a mythical love story set in Trinidad and Tobago. It has a lot to do with death and magical realism, so I'm excited for that. So here are all the books that I would like to read in April. My little reading list that includes at least one nonfiction, one classic, and one Caribbean book, and one book that I've owned for a while. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Tell me in the comments below, what is one book that you're excited to read this April? What's on your list? Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you are liking the vibes here. I will talk to you next time, and thank you for being here at A Small Lime Flex.